Hey everyone, this is Dual Credit Biology 1, Unit 1, Lecture 2. This is going to cover sections 1.4 and 1.5 in your textbook. So you're going to want to grab your textbook, and if you have the presentation, pull it up so that you can look at it, maybe some paper to jot some notes down on, okay? This is a very short lecture because most of this information you're already going to know. And so we're going to move pretty quickly through it. And also there's an assignment that follows. So I'm going to show you how to do that assignment. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, and let me get over here to our chapter. All right, right here. So I want to start off by talking about how living things differ. So our last lecture, we started off the chapter by talking about how even now in biology we find new things, that we are constantly looking for new stuff. And then when we find new stuff, um, we have to classify it, we have to learn about it. And so biology is always changing. And because it's always changing and because there's so much stuff, um, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. And so we're going to talk about some of the differences in living things, but we're also going to look at how they are the same. So I'll start by showing you this really cool graphic. I love Venn diagrams. They're one of my favorite, that shows the difference in the major differences in organisms. We have prokaryotes and we have eukaryotes. So prokaryotes are made of prokaryotic cells, and they have some things in common. Number one, prokaryotic cells don't have a nucleus. They don't have membrane structures inside. They're typically very, very, very small, and they have one circular piece of DNA. Eukaryotes have a nucleus. They do have membrane-bound organelles. They're a lot larger and they're usually a whole lot more complex. And then they have DNA packaged inside of a nucleus as strands of chromatin. But as different as prokaryotes and eukaryotes are, they also have a lot of similarities. They have a plasma membrane, they have cytoplasm, they do contain that genetic material, and then they have ribosomes that allow them to make proteins. And so all of our living organisms fall in one of these categories. They're either prokaryotes, or made of prokaryotic cells, or they're eukaryotes made of eukaryotic cells. So that's one way that we classify living things. Um, this graphic is a really good one because it just shows our major groups of living organisms. So on the prokaryotic side, we have bacteria and we have archaea. So bacteria is the biggest. It is the most diverse. It's got the most organisms in it. It's very well known, has single-celled organisms that lack a nucleus. And then right below it, its kinfolk is the archaea. They're also single-celled, so they get thrown into prokaryotes. But the thing is that instead of being closely related to bacteria, they're actually more like eukaryotes. So they kind of get their own little category. Then over on the eukaryotic side, we see protists, which are any eukaryotic organism that doesn't fit in the other three categories. We have fungi, which break down things. They're consumers. We have plants, which are eukaryotic producers, and then of course we have animals, which is where we fall in. So most of your eukaryotes are going to be multicelled, and all of your prokaryotes are single-celled. So because biology is so vast, because there are so many living organisms, organizing things in biology is extremely important. And so we organize organisms or organize biology based on a branch of science known as taxonomy. So I have a video clip here that's called a crash course. Crash course is really good because it teaches you something, or it'll reinforce something that maybe you're having trouble with. This is linked in the classroom. We're not going to spend time watching it here. I ask that you go and watch it later on. But we're going to talk a little bit about taxonomy, which is basically classification. And so after you've read through a little bit about taxonomy, you've read through about classification, you've watched the video, I want you to go and complete this assignment. So let me show you the assignment that you're going to do. Let me exit out of this. Oops, oops, stop. All right, right here in the Google Classroom, you are going to see an assignment called POGLE, but biological classification. POGLEs are worksheets that I use to teach material that I'm not going to teach in class, okay? POGLes are very important because they either reinforce something or they teach something. Most of the time, they're teaching something. So that's why you have to complete these, because if you don't complete it, you're not going to get the information needed for your test. So you'll go to the Google Classroom, you will click on POGLE biological classification, and it's going to have this Google slide presentation pop up, okay? Now, during COVID, when we were out for the pandemic, I know a lot of you had to do worksheets for teachers, and you probably printed them out, wrote them down, and then took pictures and sent it to them, or maybe typed it in a Google Doc. This is going to make it a little bit easier on both of us. So what you'll do is first you need to zoom in. So zoom in, zoom in like so that you can see it. Then you'll read the assignment, but before you do anything, make sure you click on that little select button again. After you read the assignment, you will click directly on the text box that's provided for you, and then you can type your answer into that text box, save it, and submit it. So it's nice, clean, typed in, and it's easier for both of us to read it, okay? So once you have done that, you will submit that for a grade, okay? So if you have any questions about anything, feel free to email or text me. Be sure that you've read sections 1.1 through 1.5 at this point and that you complete the POGLE. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.